Wow, how about that awesome intro? Thank you to my friend Eric Geist for that video production that he sent me the other day. I didn't even ask him to make that, but boy,
That's
that
really
looks
cool.
really cool. Well, thank you for joining us on this second Teachers on Fire Roundtable, and I'm joined by some really delightful guests today. Can't wait to meet them. I'll introduce myself. My name is Tim Cavey. I'm the host of the Teachers on Fire podcast. And I've got a couple of former guests here in Juli and Lynn, and who knows, maybe some future guests as well. I am an 8th grade teacher in Vancouver and also a rookie AP this year. I was just saying off air, I don't know if this was the right year to jump into administration, but here I am, looking forward to some input and some advice from all of these fine guests. Let's introduce ourselves. Would you go ahead and tell us sort of where you're hailing from and what your educational context looks like? Juli, why don't you kick us off?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are listening from. I am Julianne Ross-Kleinmann, or Juli. I am an administrator in the Ulster-BOCES Instructional Services Department. My title is Model Schools Instructional Specialist. Throughout the county of New York, we have BOCES, which are Board of Cooperative Education Services. They're agencies that support the county districts with academic, administrative, and operational goals. Our school-based programs at Ulster-BOCES provide career and tech education, P-Tech, learning opportunities for adult education for all types of learners. And in my department specifically, Model Schools is something in New York as well. Model Schools is the authentic integration of technology. So it's been very busy since March. I also proudly volunteer with ISTE, Delta Sigma Theta. I am a board member currently on the ISTE Board of Directors.
Juli, you wear so many awesome hats. It's great to have you here, and I look forward to hearing more about what education is looking like in your neighborhood here in a moment. But Coach Ben, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about your context.
Yeah, my name is Ben Cogswell. I am a kindergarten teacher in Salinas, California, which is the salad bowl capital of the world. So next time you get your salad or your lettuce, look and see if it's from Salinas. You may be wondering, well, he's Coach Ben, but he's a kindergarten teacher. I don't know, about 6 years ago, I started as an educational technology coach for my district, a TOSA, teacher on special assignment. And I kind of helped get our one-to-one, our ed tech department rolling. And I just had a calling to go back to the classroom. And I thought, why not kindergarten? And so this is my 3rd year here as a kindergarten teacher. And we are, if you can see my shirts, we're the Kinder Rockets. And of course, I got my friend here today, my kindergarten helper, because it's not interesting, as interesting as a kindergarten teacher without a puppet. So I hope everybody's doing well. And can't wait to chat with y'all.
Hey, thanks for being here, Coach Ben. Now, Lynn, I know you're having a few technical issues, so I don't know how well you're hearing me this morning, but can you introduce yourself and tell us about your context in education?
I will try. Yeah, I'm really glitchy here this morning and only picking up every 5th word or so. So I don't know how clearly I'm coming through. Can I get a thumbs up if you can make out what I'm saying?
You sound great.
Okay. I'm Lynn Thomas, and I'm from Ontario. I live on the North Shore of Lake Erie, quite near Buffalo, actually. Our situation is we're school fully face-to-face. And unfortunately, very little consideration for reducing class sizes. So we have classes in the mid-30s in some cases. We have mandatory masking for grades 4 to 12. And so, yeah, there's a lot of very worried people here, I think. There are some areas in the province that case numbers are on the rise and going up all the time. Other areas, like my particular area, we're only having like 1 or 2 cases a week. So
Actually, I
that
have one.
makes
Thank
me
you.
feel better that our area is pretty good, but everywhere else, it just seems inevitable that we won't be there long.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see the kids, and so that's a good thing. Obviously, I really can't wait to see them. It's been so long, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot of different and interesting things with them. They've changed our model as part of trying to cohort. So I teach high school, and normally we're in a semestered system. So and now we're in basically a quadmester, and so I'll be teaching class for 300 minutes a day for a week at a time. So and it goes back and forth. We have 1 week where basically I'm
losing Lynn a little bit there, but I think where she left off was where did she say 300 minutes a day with one class? Wow, that was unbelievable.
She did, and I was really wondering what the next thing was she was going to say.
What else can you add to that? Oh my goodness. Okay, I haven't heard of any schools doing that. So already I'm interested here in this next round. But first of all, Leon, thank you for joining us. Leon, would you tell us about your context?
Hi, I'm here in Phoenix. I'm teaching computer science and technology K through 8 here. Before I did that, I was doing 6 through 12 in Connecticut at an engineering school. So I'm all things STEM. It's a lot different here. With we started a little bit over a month ago. So this isn't, we're not in person yet. They just pushed back those details to October 1st. I'm doing a lot of things in response to COVID with grants. I've gotten, I think, 7 or 8 since March to specifically help with the COVID thing and specifically get students hands-on one-to-one instead of doing the group model. That's not going to work. And I actually think that that's better when eventually we have enough devices and robots and make, all kinds of makey-makeys and other things that they can do one-to-one. So we kind of altered some of that. We're also building a massive garden. We're going to call it a sustainability classroom where teachers will be able to bring their stuff. That's grant funded as well. We're going to have Raspberry Pis and microbits measuring weather, moisture, temperature, all types of things. And kids are going to see the effects of composting and both composting models, hot composting and vermicomposting. So it's a real exciting year. We're starting off very excited, and we're prepared to do it in person or remote. We're prepared.
So I want to dig into that a little deeper. Thanks, Leon. And by the way, the garden angle is really interesting. There's a high school out here in my neck of the woods that is piloting this high school experience where kids go through the entire curriculum, but it's built around PBL and maintaining a small farm. And so some of the things you mentioned there, I know they are incorporating as well. Obviously, it's a great place for STEM, right? Yes. And there's a lot of other directions you can go with that too. But Juli, here in our second round of questions, let's get into what the return to school really looks like in your neighborhood, and maybe some of the challenges as well. We'll do some problem solving along the way here. So, Juli, what do things look like in your neighborhood? I think we said earlier it's fully remote. Is that right?
No, actually, we are. Lynn's fully remote. So first, I have to say I really appreciate our superintendent. His name is Charles Horry, and I'm not even into my first year at Ulster BOCES yet. But he's had a vision all along that education was going to move forward in a different way. And so he's been diligent about us working on something called Northstar Academy. I'm going to hold on one sec. There we go. When you talk a lot, right, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's put something together called Northstar Academy. It's an initiative where we're looking at reopening, reimagining for a brighter future. It has involved teachers, administrators, families coming together, having input, conversation, before even COVID about what school could be different. He really keeps abreast of articles in regards to educational technology, AI. He always wants to move forward. So before New York was asked to put together a plan, he started putting together a plan. He started buying things. He started buying
face shields,
temperature checks for when you walk into the building. We all have an app. And so we have a plan for both, for all three, actually. We have a plan for face-to-face. Face-to-face is going to start for our fragile students, our students who need extra learning support. We have a hybrid model for everyone else. Now we're a county-wide program. So we serve everyone in our county with that, like P-Tech and Career and Tech that I said before. So that's going to be remote in the beginning, and then we're going to start a hybrid at the end of this month in September. And then we also have a way to just pivot to all remote. So it's that face-to-face for some students, hybrid until we start bringing in additional students at the end of the month. But we have a way to pivot remote for everyone. Unfortunately, we all feel the inevitability that we're all going back to remote. So challenges have been air quality. So some classes have moved outside, like Leon was expressing. But when you have career in tech and you need automotive, some of that works outside, some of that does not work outside. So that's a challenge. Scheduling has been a challenge. Recognizing who's coming back to school staff-wise, because in New York, you're allowed to ask to opt out and work at home. Sometimes people wait to the last minute to let you know, and understandably so. But using those who are going to be at home to pair them with the students and families who have decided to stay at home. So I would say scheduling and working with the buildings you already have been the challenges.
Those are really, really tough. And I want to come back and ask about air quality here in a second. I also want to shout out Tech Teacher 1381, who's been joining us. And he says lessons learned from March to May were able to help us be proactive to connect all our students. And Juli, it's great to hear that you've got a proactive leader in your neighborhood. And I shared a comment from Eric Geis from Got Tech, and another great EdTech podcast, by the way. And he is the creator of that awesome intro. So thank you, Eric. So Juli, just quickly, I'm thinking about your building and maybe some of your facilities. I don't have the HVAC systems and ventilation that they need. We can open windows right now, but in the middle of a New York winter, that gets a little harder.
Sorry, I was unmuting myself. Yes, it does. And that's been part of the conversation. And, you know, there have been articles that during past pandemics, people have had class outside, summer, winter, spring, and fall. We have moved one facility to another building at SUNY. Sorry. I am so sorry to any Ulster BOCES person watching. But we have moved to another campus. So that maintenance, thank God for maintenance, who's been able to keep everything up and running, and at the last minute pivoting to move furniture and structures. And so that's one way that we've been helping with, that we've been answering that air quality, as well as any maintenance updates that needed to occur. But it's still in process. The other thing I just want to share very quickly before you move on to someone, is the thing I also appreciated most about him that I heard has been a challenge is communication. Since March, when schools stopped being in person, he sent a daily letter, from March until June. June now our 10-month employees, stopped. And so the letters didn't come daily, but a daily communication that also gave you the updates of the COVID outbreak itself, news from the governor, and just temperature checks and daily. I just thought that was amazing.
That is amazing. I have two thoughts. One, that person is working really hard. And number two, I hope that his intended audience doesn't sort of grow deaf over a while or skip those emails, right? I think sometimes that can be a challenge. A lot of things there we can get into, and I love that you gave the maintenance staff a shout out as well. Man, our custodians and maintenance people for face-to-face returns are working so hard. Coach Ben, tell us about the challenges in your neighborhood. What does that return to school look like?
So we're in about, I believe, with my kindergartners, we opened up as virtual. And so, as kindergarten, you can imagine it's for some of these kids, it's their first year in school, right? We're very fortunate with our district. We've been a one-to-one program for about 6 years. And even for the last 3 years, our kids have been taking home their devices, Chromebooks. And so it's been amazing. And I mean, we have some challenges in our own area, in ourselves. So, the area that I teach in, one of the neighborhoods is very, very densely populated. It's like the 6th most densely populated area in the United States because we have a lot of farm workers. We have a lot of families that are packed into small areas. And so we are one of the hot spots of COVID in our whole county just because it's so densely populated, right? And so we opened up with a full remote, which was the right thing to do. Keep teachers safe. We're very fortunate with our plan as far as kindergarten, because how do you get these kindergartners, some of these that have never been engaged in school, never logged on, and we have Chromebooks, right? So we had about 5 days of parent meetings where we met with the kids one-on-one. We gave them their Chromebooks. We went over, how to log in. Honestly, it's challenging and it's not the same, but I got to say that I work crazy, ridiculous hours like everybody else here, I'm sure does. Right. But it's really been just a treat. And even now, like already seeing some of these kids growing, remote learning is possible. And I have some kids that are really struggling and it's really, really hard for them. They're home with their big brother and sister. Right. It was really cute. I just was talking to one of my former kindergartners who's a first grader and he's sitting there with his 7th grade sister at home and he's helping his kindergarten younger sister. And it is a challenge. All teachers are putting in their time. Everybody's remote here. And, but again, it's amazing what I think sometimes these kids can do, especially when we design lessons, I feel like that are engaging for them. And we think about ways that can, and it's not easy, not every kid is engaged, but there's lots of challenges. But when I really start thinking about it, when I really start thinking about the students and again, just these kindergartners that, they can log into Google Meets and they can participate, right? And we can do writing and we can do hands-on stuff, right? And they can learn. And so, lots of struggles, but lots of positives too, I guess. Honestly, the biggest struggle I'm going through right now is we're going with our one-to-one testing. We're doing some baseline testing, and a lot of this is one-to-one for kindergarten and just getting kids on computers and testing them. And some of them are fine, but then some of them are breaking down crying on the other end, and just kind of like, they're state mandated tests and district mandated tests. And so that's really been this thing I've been struggling with the last week. And it's just really, with that one-to-one and testing and lots of different tests. So that's what I'm struggling with. But, overall, that's kind of like the, not the complete Facebook post, maybe not the Twitter post version, but maybe the Instagram summary of how everything's going.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, TikTok is teaching me a lot about what life looks like for primary teachers in the remote spaces. So my hat goes off to you. Eric is saying teaching new kids remotely is extra challenging. I love the one-to-one meetings with new students and kindergartners. I can't imagine, but wow. Yeah, the challenges. And I'm sure a lot of screencasts and tutorials are being made either by you, Dan, or pardon me, Ben, or by your team. And then Tech Teacher is also saying, I hosted parent meetings in English and Spanish to help them with their tutorials. So yeah, did you want to speak to that? The screencasting?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I did. So I've tried to, I have a one-stop shop, and I put everything on a Google site, and I bought a domain name to make it even easier. So it's kindrockets.org. So that's all my parents, because yo hablo español, pero no es mucho, muy bien, right? I can speak Spanish. I can converse with my parents. My Spanish is not great. But everything, I got some, we work as a team. I have a student teacher. I have another kindergarten teacher. So yeah, lots of tutorials, lots of, everything's in English, everything's in Spanish. Because honestly, those are the languages I serve. And honestly, most of my families, it's like, are speaking Spanish. Our school population is like 82% English language learners, and 98% of those are Hispanic in our school. And so definitely it's having that need, having the meetings in English, having the meetings in Spanish. And just, I got to say that communication, I think just one thing I did this year, like on that to just support it, is during that meeting, I got every parent's phone number. I just put them in my phone. I saved all of their contacts. I put KR. I put the child's name for the first name. I put the parent's name for the last name, because Google Translate, boom, do it in Spanish, hit the translate button, send it to them. And it's not exactly the screencasting, right? It's just the whole communication we got, especially with these young kids. We have to be on the same page as our parents, right? We have to be like this. We're co-teachers right here, right? So that communication, that going back and forth, and just making it happen, even if it's hard. So yeah, I mean, screencast and parents and Tech Teacher, I'd love to, connect, I would love to see what you're doing. You can find me, of course, on Twitter. We're sharing it and caring, right? And so it's been a lot of that, lots of those things. So lots of, as much support as we can give. It's probably still not enough, but we just do our best. So
amazing, brother. I feel your fire, and look forward to hearing more. And by the way, something we haven't even talked about yet is, how do you teach a bunch of littles from home and also parent? But Lynn, we lost Lynn. Okay, just as I wanted to go to Lynn, she's gone. So hopefully she comes back. But Leon, tell us about the return to school in your neighborhood. As you said, you're a month into it. What have been some of the biggest highlights, and maybe also some of the challenges too?
I think teachers are becoming empowered and learning how to teach differently. It's not this, we're not in that negative space. We got over that in March. So, the teachers are learning new ways of curating content, of delivering content and creating content. And they're now realizing the power in that, where like someone like me, I've already known that. I know Ben has known that. Juli's known that as well. It's one of those things where you have to say, wow, if I keep creating these content pieces and I do it over a span of time, I've answered every question. I've helped every parent. All I have to do is send you a link. Here you go. I did that 2 years ago, and it goes step by step for this particular problem. As long as we curate that appropriately, we can have the answers and things to our for our fingertips for kids that are really like, hey, I don't get this concept, and say, you know what? I worked on that. I showed that. I have something for you. You send it to the parent, send it to the student. They can watch it together, separate, whatever. But it's step by step, and it feels personal on the other side of the screen. So I just love it. I actually love, I've been doing stuff this way for a long time, creating videos and tutorials. And now to see a whole body of teachers in all content areas doing the same thing, and now realizing that power, that concept of being able to help students and families one-on-one really makes a difference. And it just makes us rethink how we prepare content. It makes us rethink how boring we are. We're all boring. we're all boring, and there's certain things that don't work, but in person we try to get away with it, but in our mind we're like, hey, we should pivot, or we know better, but we do it anyway, because we're not being observed all the time. So it really gets us to measure exactly what we're doing and how to really be engaging, and you can see that feedback right away, because I think Mr. Cogswell knows I get the kindergartners that do this, and go to the other room. It really does make a difference, and you're teaching better when they're you're teaching better when they're like this 95% of the time. That little thing where you have to go to the bathroom and you do your little those things are fine, but other than that, like just being able to see how teachers have transformed education, it's so exciting. And we just need to continue this way, whether we're in person or not. And I know for me and for the teachers that I work with, we're definitely going to continue teaching synchronously and asynchronously. So if we're in person, we're going to record that same lesson and have it available for parents and students in case anything happens. And just being able to work that way and understand that it's not more work, it's different work. So that mindset change, like it's changing even with administrators too. And I'm really excited about that, because I think, education needed a kick in the butt. I really do, because it was pretty stagnant.
Leon, you were speaking my language there, brother, with the asynchronous mindset. And something I've talked to my teachers about already, and some of my PLN, is this idea that, man, anytime we are in the classroom, we're doing direct instruction. If you are in a face-to-face environment, you can still take a lot of these same principles into that space. So why not set up a little tripod? Why not have one of your students record you during some direct instruction, or even audio record? I mean, anything that we can archive. And as you said, curation is a really important part of this. But why not save that content so that you can, if a student asks a question in a remote environment, you can throw them a video link or an audio link. And I mean, it's just, and not only that, you can share it outside of your own building. One quick note on that sort of takes this in another direction, but thinking as a creator, I sort of had an epiphany a year or two ago to realize that and I don't know if Leon, you're in a G Suite hosted school, but if you are creating content on a school hosted domain, that always belongs to the school, and it can never be monetized. And so in my mind, I mean, it might depend on district or school policies, but it just makes so much sense to, if you are like Leon, creating a lot of this content, and Ben, it sounds like as well, start doing that on a personal account. You can even use the same profile pic. No one will care, right? As long as you're not violating any privacy issues. But if you're demonstrating a math concept, a STEM concept, something else, do that on your personal YouTube, and then over time, you can start to actually build something that can help not only people in your own building and district, but around the world as well, right? Would you agree, Leon?
And just real quick, adding.
Yeah, go ahead. As an attorney, yes, you want to get off of that school-based place, and really do it in your own space. Because once you do it in your own space, even though you're helping your own kids, it's yours.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add, sorry, that sometimes even if it's on a like in some states in here in California, you can create thing on a district machine. So if you're creating your content on a district computer, sometimes that, depending upon where you are, that could still be the property of the school. So just some food for thought.
That is really interesting, because Ben, I think about, my current school, and I know other districts give access to the Adobe suite. And so Premiere is obviously a favorite of many video creators. I use Audition for this podcast, and that's really interesting. If it's a school device that they actually try to restrict you from publishing that. Well, I want to give one final round. I don't want to keep you too long on this wonderful Saturday morning, but I want to give you a final opportunity to just share with us about what you're working on. What's lighting your fire right now? What are you creating, or what's your current project? So Juli, back to you. What's igniting your fire right now?
By the way, I could stay here all morning, but I know that's not what everybody wants to do. Just letting you know. I mean, I could respond to so many things that Leon said, that Ben said, that you say. Lighting my fire right now is around that assessment piece. And so we're doing, we're helping others do things a little differently. We're helping pull back the wall of things that were always there, tequity and trauma and social emotional learning and ways of integrating computer science, computational thinking. But now that we're in a remote setting, how do you assess it? So, and the issue I've seen before, even for myself, is if I'm progressive in something and I'm doing it with my students, but you don't understand when you come to evaluate me, that could be a problem. So I'm working, I went back to school. I guess if I say it loud, then I have to do something with it because now I've just said it to everybody. I went back to school. I'm at Manhattanville, all but dissertation. And so I'm in a program where I can continue my dissertation. And that's my conversation. For me, computational thinking has always been a passion. And I think that that is a way to bring out those higher order thinking skills in every level of content, whether it's plugged or unplugged. And so my dissertation is working on that with administrators. Do they feel that they're able to assess that both face-to-face and in a remote setting, which is going to lead, okay, so the dissertation, you got to narrow it down, but I've already got all these other papers and things in my mind that I want to do that bounce off of that once I finish that. So that's my passion right now. That's what's been driving me.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that, Juli. And I love the power of public accountability. You've put it up here. It's permanent. We're going to be tracking you there at Manhattan. Yeah, best of luck to you. Ben, what are you currently working on? Tell us about one of your projects or what is lighting your fire.
I guess I have a few things, that are so-called lighting my fire, right? One of the things that's been a passion project that I never would have really found myself kind of putting so much time and effort. But one of the first things I actually did when we went to shelter in place in the spring, I created a Facebook page for my kindergarten class just because, I'm thinking most of my parents have internet, not all my parents, but most of them have, Facebook, most of them are connecting. So what's another way I can reach people and connect with them? So I started a Facebook page for my kindergarten. It's again, we're our Kind Rockets. And so I post content there for my kindergartners, but for any kids out there. And I do a morning message, and my wife and I do read alouds. Right now we're doing them 5 nights a week where we read a book and we sing a song, and we just try to connect with the kids out there, whoever they are, and just kind of provide some consistency. So it's really fun doing that. We try to push some other content out there. You can see some friends that we've done, some shows, some little fun videos for kids. So that's been a lot of fun. The other thing that's really honestly fun is just creating I use the platform called Seesaw, and it's an amazing platform, especially for the younger kids, right? It's just so many amazing things. And just some of the lessons that I've been able to create, it kind of goes back to what Leon was creating. It's just, I've never thought, I'm really thinking about these lessons where literally these asynchronous lessons where I can pack so much instruction and so individualized there. I could put a video of myself in there and kids can practice and kids can record, and just amazing. Just these cute little Pete the Cat videos where I posted one on our Facebook page, actually, this little girl doing Pete the Cat and the 4 magic buttons, and just so cute. And she's like, starts her Pete the Cat, and she's like, messes up. She's like, uh-oh, I need to undo. My teacher says, always use the undo button. And just the language that she's using, you can go and see it. It's 6,400 views, this little kindergartner's video, because we can post it in a public space. And so just getting these on Seesaw and getting them in there and getting them practicing and creating these engaging activities that, again, are not just going to be good for now. And that's the other cool thing, is I can make these activities and they don't just stay in my classroom. I can give them to other teachers for free. And so honestly, one of the really amazing things is is, and this is the last thing I'll kind of share, is before shelter in place in Seesaw, you can see kind of how many kids you impacted. So about 6 months ago, maybe I had like a good 150,000 kids that I had reached via Seesaw that had engaged in my lesson. Now I'm almost up to 1 million kids over shelter in place that have engaged in my Seesaw lessons. And so like it's, and they're all free, right? So just the fact that I can put these out there and I can help other kids and I can help other teachers, right? And it's all free, and it's basically Kinder Rocket's curriculum, if you will, and it's open source, and just being able to do that with some of my colleagues. I mean, that's, as you can see, that's what gets me going. That's what gets me goosebumps. And so also just hearing, these awesome stories, I don't know which way I should go, this way or this way, from people like, Leon and Juli, just how they're doing. It's so cool. So.
Amazing. Ben, if you could drop a link in the chat to your Seesaw stuff, I'd be really interested in seeing that. So I'm coming from a school that really made me a Seesaw believer, and now I'm heading into a context that is used to Google Classroom. And so there's a little bit of pushback about, hey, we're introducing a second LMS here. Isn't this confusing? Isn't it redundant? To me, I've seen them work really, really well together. In simple terms, to people who are new to Seesaw, I say, look, Google Classroom, at least at a higher grade level, I'm not sure about kindergarten, but it can be that place where we do a lot of our learning. But Seesaw is that tool that shows the learning. And Google Classroom doesn't curate learning over time. It doesn't communicate very well with parents. And Seesaw fills in all those gaps really, really well. Leon, so tell us about some of your. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I put the link in the Twitter because I'm not signed in, so I can't put the comment in there, but it's on our Twitter group. But yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries at all. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Wow. Millions of views, or hundreds of thousands to 1 million views on that content. I love the power of the authentic audience there, Ben. Leon, tell us about your work. I'm so interested to hear. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of the video stuff as well. Have you got a YouTube channel for that? Is there a home for that? Okay.
Not yet. Working on that. I do have a lot of stuff curated, and I'll be doing a ton of things with my my other tech teacher this year. We're gonna just crank out content, and it's not going to be exclusively in our network. Well, they don't really have a place within our school network to put those things. So, and yes, we have our own computers. Ben, tech teachers don't take the baseline computers. You know that. So we don't do that. I need bigger and lots of RAM and lots of memory. So yeah, we're working on a project. I got a grant through A for Arizona to do that one-to-one piece that we were talking about. So we're sending microbit kits home with students so they can check them out just like library books. And we have enough for 5th grade and up, and I'm coming up with a whole different solution from 4th grade down on 2 other grant projects. So we're the first in the state. We're some of the first in the country to do something like this. And that's where we go back to Juli talking about evidence and how do we provide evidence of learning. And that's something that my school is particularly focused on, not just a quick assessment, or how do we get actual evidence that students are learning what they need to learn. And one of the ways through this kit is that, they're going to send me clips because I don't want to see the robot. We can't really do that. In COVID times, you're going to put it in a box and then it's going to, sit for like 3 days to a week. But beyond that, they're going to send me clips. We're definitely going to use Flipgrid this year. You're going to send me clips of it actually working, and you have to narrate it. Let me know what's going on, how you did this. Give me a quick reflection, things like that. So at the end of all of this, we're going to have a body of work where if somebody says, hey, well, how do we know if a student is struggling or if they're not? It's going to be very obvious if they don't know what they're doing or if they need some extra support, because we're using that qualitative instead of these superficial quantitative data that schools and people use all the time. We always use that. And so we're trying to break that norm, especially, I'm a huge PBL fan. That's all we do. We definitely do, as we go more complex and multifaceted. We use rubrics, and we use them over and over again. So it's not a one-stop shop. Oh, I have this rubric. I introduced it to you, and I'm going to, here, this is it. This is your one review. It's not one review. It's multifaceted. So we're going to work on column 1 or row 1 this week. We're going to work on row 2 next week. We're going to work on row 3. So by the time we're done in a staggered approach, the kids are in the 90 to 100% percentile, but they've had support the entire way. So totally different mindset regarding, project-based learning, getting them in from small projects to larger multifaceted projects. We're going to have a ton of fun doing it. The teachers are really excited about it, and they're buying into it. And that's going to feed right into our larger project of the sustainability garden, composting with computer science and robotics. I have a robot that my kids are going to build a robot on a weather station on a robot this year. It's the Sparrow robot, the one that is all terrain. So I say, hey guys, we got to measure the weather, and they could just go, and it will have a camera, and they could just take it right on out of the front doors and go measure and bring it back. It's bus controlled, has bus power and everything. So we're gonna just do fun stuff. It's science, it's math. Yes, we measure things. We're gonna be measuring data, Julie. Data. My 5th graders are learning Excel and how to analyze data. So trying to do a lot of these computer science concepts. Yes, thank you. Computer science concepts where they're actually coding in Python, not the block. We're trying to do that. And then we're trying to marry this whole concept of math integration and computer science and robotics. We're trying to, and writing, all of these things in one piece, because they have to explain what they do. Then also this video concept, because I think, Julie, our teachers are learning how to be on camera. Our kids need to be also. So it's all of those things all in one, and it's crazy, but it's fun. It's exciting. Parents are learning that their kids can do this. I speak to parents like all the time, and it's so much fun speaking to them and sending them clips about, hey, this is what your child is going to do at the end. And then they go, oh, that's so great. Okay, well, great. Support your kid.
Wow, Leon, that's some amazing stuff. And if you can, I'm hoping all of this stuff is being documented and recorded and curated and shared. And
exactly. I don't have a choice.
Because more teachers need to be filled in on this. And you know what? I would love to speak to, I've already spoken to Juli on my podcast. I'd love to speak to both of you, Ben and Leon, in greater detail in the coming weeks. Man, I'm a little buried, so it might take me a while, but I will get there.
All right, you said it perfectly, just like you said it to me.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Hey, this has fueled my mind so much, and there's so many different directions we could go, but I've got a family here too. So I do need to say goodbye for today from the Roundtable. But as we sign off, let everyone know where you can be found on social media. Julie?
Sure. I would say I'm really Twitter the most. So JBR _ here we go. Kleinmann, KLEINMANN. ISTE STEM, please follow them. They're sending out a lot of amazing things free for educators as well. So I would say those are the 2 places that you can connect with me. And then once you connect with me, I give you all my other information.
You don't run the ISTE STEM Instagram, do you, Julie?
No, I help with the Twitter account, and we have a website, but not anything else. All
right, fair enough. Thank you, Julie. Ben?
All right. You can see my my Twitter handle like right here, Cogswell _Ben. And that's a great place to reach me. But if you go to coachben.org, you can find, like, I put tons of resources. If you're a K-2 teacher out there, I've just been adding all my stuff that people have been asking. Like, when people ask, I try to put it public. So coachben.org, I got videos, I got seesaw activities. You can find me on different social media. I love connecting. Everything's free. If you ever see anything of mine that is not free, then let me know, because there's a problem with that. But coachben.org is the best place to go to find me or my stuff.
And real quick, Ben, is that WordPress hosted? Can I subscribe to that so that I
you
get
know what?
notified when you?
I wish that I was that fancy. It's just a Google site. Maybe one day,
Okay.
I'll be able to get that. But yeah, just go there for updates. I usually post. I post to my Twitter when I have stuff. But that's my next step, Tim.
Awesome. Well, that works too. And Leon.
I'm very simple. It's my name, Leon Tynes, and then JR. So it's at Leon Tynes JR. What am I doing? I do Twitter, don't I, Juli? Yeah. I do mostly Twitter, but I am growing into Instagram, and I'm redoing my website, which is mrtynes.com, but it's not up and running. But all of these projects have to be documented. So I will have it all those particular grants and things, they're going to have separate pages on my website. So
do I have your handle correct here, Leon?
Correct.
All right. So find Leon at Leon Tynes JR. Hey, Juli, Ben, and Leon, thank you so much. Juli, we had a previous connection. Thank you so much for connecting me with these two fine educators. You are lighting my fire this morning. So thank you so much for joining me, and let's talk again soon. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.